Welcome to Alabama Justice Lawyering Up. My name is Richard Jaffe, the senior partner in the Birmingham, Alabama law firm of Jaffe, Hanle, Whisonant, and Knight. We are going to explore with you the hottest cases, the most controversial topics of Alabama justice, and we're going to bring to you exciting key players that make our Alabama justice work or not work. We look forward to having you. Welcome. I'm Richard Jaffe from the law firm of Jaffe, Hanle, Whisonant, and Knight. We're here for Alabama Justice with a special guest on a subject that you will all be interested in, juvenile justice. And our special guest is prominent attorney and good friend, Don Colee. Welcome, sir.
Thank you much, Richard. Great to be here.
Well, I want to launch in immediately to talk a little bit about Don Colee. Tell the viewers who you are.
Well, you know, I'm a Birmingham boy. I was born and raised here in Birmingham, out on the east side of town. Went to Woodlawn High School and went to Alabama. Did spend 4 years in Tuscaloosa in undergraduate school, then came back and went to Cumberland. And I've lived here all my life, primarily on the east side of town and everything. I'm just, you know, I came from a pretty normal household, I guess. My mama was a school teacher. She taught Woodlawn High School for about 30 years. And my dad worked in the grocery store business. So, you know, it was a great, I was very blessed with all that and just have been really fortunate in everything. And some reason or another, I don't know exactly when it was, but I don't know whether it was watching Perry Mason on Saturday nights at the house or whatever it was, but some reason or another, I developed a desire to be a lawyer. And, you know, there have been some times I've wondered how crazy I must have been to thought that, but seriously though, it's been a great blessing. And, you know, my mother was she pushed me very hard that way. She wanted it and everything. And, you know, she was a driving force. She was a big in education and all that kind of stuff. And so it kind of set me in that direction. And, you know, lo and behold, I guess I must like it because I've been at it since 1976. So I guess it kind of took somewhere or another. And so, but.
You started off your career, and I remember it well, as a prosecutor, and here at the Jefferson County DA's office.
Right.
Working for Earl Morgan.
Earl Morgan, yeah. You know, when I was in law school, I don't consider myself any great book lawyer, okay? And I'm over in law school, and there's all people there that I know are a lot smarter book-wise than I was. You know, I'm going along C's and B's, and these people are making straight A's and everything. But I always enjoyed the courtroom type classes, and I seemed to be better, much more relaxed, and enjoyed that. So I'm sitting there my last semester in law school, and I wanted to get a job where I would be in court. And I talked to several people, and they said, well, you're not going to find a better place to start out than the district attorney's office. And I was fortunate enough to be involved in a competition out at Cumberland at that time that actually one of our judges was Earl Morgan. My guy soon became a boss, and we won, my team won, and I won the award for best advocate in the program, and got to meet Mr. Morgan at that time, and applied for a job, and various things happened, and suddenly, I guess right after I passed the bar exam, he called me and he said, I'm going to have a couple of openings. Would you like to come to work for me? And I did. So I went there in November of '76 and worked there until December of 1983.
Well, that's impressive because most people then and today, they have to lobby to get a job at the DA's office, and it's a tribute to the gifts you have as a trial lawyer that you were actually asked to come there.
Well, I was very, like I say, it just all kind of fell into place for me and everything. And you know, Mr. Morgan was a great boss. He was one of those that let you go out there, and he let you do what you thought was right. You know, now there'd be some times he'd call you in and he'd ask you, why'd you do this, Don? Why'd you do that? And you'd explain it to him, and he'd kind of look at it and say, well, I understand. I may not agree with you, but I understand. You know, let's try to do this and this. So he was a great boss, and that position gave me an opportunity to get into the courtroom and be in front of juries and try jury cases. Because, you know, at that time, and you know, because you came around not too long after I started in the defense bar. You know, we had 40, 45 jury weeks a year. So every week we've got cases set for trial, and it seemed like just about every week, if not every other week, I was involved in a jury trial. I know I went for about 3 or 4 months there trying a case. It seemed like every week, and it seemed like every week I was trying one against Bill Dawson, who's a good friend of both of ours, and great lawyer and everything. And, you know, we got tired of seeing each other. We were great friends, and, you know, that was one of the most amazing things about courtroom activity to me back then, and not as much today. It's something that I've tried to work to foster more of, is that, you know, 2 lawyers could go at each other in the courtroom like you and I did on a couple of cases and everything. And once that trial was over with, or once there was a break, you were friends. I mean, Bill and I would go into the courtroom and we'd scream and holler at each other and call each other all sorts of names. And at the first recess, we would step outside and we'd talk about going to the hockey game that night.
Or grabbing some lunch or
right,
coffee.
Or we talk about, you know, let's go shoot some pool tonight. And people would come up to you and they'd say, I can't, you going to go out? You going to go somewhere with him tonight? He called you blankety blank. And I said, well, yeah. And I called him the same thing, but we're friends. We leave it in that courtroom there. We're both advocates. Bill's got his position that he's advocating for, and I've got the position that I'm advocating for. Yet we still have that personal and professional respect. And that's something that I think there's an area the law profession really needs to work on these days. It's that type of an attitude to develop.
Politics. It's a little rough now on the edges.
It is, and you know, but the thought that you can go in and understand a lawyer, and he has his position that he's advocating, and he's not advocating it personally against you or whatever, but that he has his spot, but that you can understand that you're both professionals and handle yourself in a professional manner. It's certainly, if you plan on hanging around for a while, you know, your hair is going to turn white or fall out anyway because of age. But if you're planning on hanging around a while, that's the type of attitude at least I felt like I had to develop, and been fortunate. Even when I got after 7 years in the DA's office, I was ready to leave, try myself, and I've been in private practice since there, and pretty much doing criminal defense
And you've
work.
Also been past president of the Alabama Criminal Defense Lawyers, of the Greater Birmingham Criminal Defense Lawyers.
Right. Yeah.
You currently are still involved in those associations, and you've gotten the highest award, the Beto Award.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I got involved in those organizations early on, as you did too. We were all involved in those things, and got to meet a lot of great lawyers throughout the state and everything, and work in the criminal justice section and everything. You know, lawyers aren't very well thought of, to say the least. The clients that you and I represent in the criminal field, generally they're not very well thought of. They don't have a voice to speak up for them. You know, it's easy to get elected to an office by slamming jail doors, by talking about throwing the keys away, about frying people till their eyeballs popped out, as one attorney general did for many times when he was running. That's all easy to do, but we need advocates there to recognize that these people are human beings, that they need to be treated with respect and dignity, that they have rights, and that you know, sometimes, you know, I was fortunate enough to be raised in a good home, mother and father, you know, and everything. Many people that I've represented, they've not been that lucky. You know, they don't, neither parents around, or maybe only one. You know, maybe, you know, my parents, they were teetotalers. They didn't do anything. You know, they were good. They followed the law. They did, you know, and
well, that leads us into juvenile justice.
Exactly.
So talk to the viewers and me about what are your views about juvenile justice? Because one of the things that always struck me about juvenile justice is that, one, they don't have a right to bail, and secondly, they don't have a right to a jury trial in Alabama.
Right. You know, I guess over the years, one of the unfortunate things that I've seen is that the clients are getting younger and younger. You know, I can remember starting out, we weren't dealing with that many young people, it seemed like. We weren't dealing with young people doing serious crimes, and it was more of just kind of a, you know, almost like, you know, just boys will be boys type situations. And as time has passed, that has changed so much, and you sit there and you see your clients that are found themselves in circumstances where they truly don't understand how their conduct on one particular night is going to can possibly ruin them for the rest of their life. You know, they start out with 2 strikes against them because of background, because of education, lacking education, because of their home situations, because of. And then when they take that step and do something that these days, the seriousness is just unbelievable, that you're like, man, you know, don't you understand where you've placed yourself today?
Well, let's talk a little bit about that word, understand, because all the science, what does it tell us about the brain of someone that is a juvenile? What does it tell us?
Well, you know, if we think about ourselves, I think of me as a 16-year-old young man. And I say young man, a 16-year-old boy would probably be the better way to put it. You know, I didn't have a lick of sense. I mean, people maybe thought I was smart, but I didn't. And I did stupid things. I did stupid things without even thinking about it. I look back and think, how in the heck could you have done that, Don? Didn't you realize the situation that you put yourself in, how you could have easily, if something else had happened, you could have found yourself, you know, just like the clients that you're representing today, the 16-year-old that's sitting there that's charged with serious crimes, that's in jail, that can't get a bond, that you know, that's just lost, and their only thought is, you know, where am I going to be for the rest of my life? So, you know, the juvenile mind just does not think. It acts on impulses.
And that's because, isn't it, that we have, all of us, what's called frontal lobes. Mm-hmm. And the frontal lobes in the part of the brain is the executive function, and it really doesn't fully form until a person's between 18 and 22. Right. And a lot of people don't realize how that affects one's ability to make good judgments.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's just, you know, maybe my judgments at 16 were not as drastic as some of the people that I'm dealing with, grant you that, but they certainly, looking back later on down the road, when my brain's at least functioning much better, hopefully much more mature acting everything and understanding things in life, I saw the insanity of those things. And so we're dealing with young people with that problem, and then all of the social stuff that's out there today with all of the media, the internets, all those things that are much past me and my age and everything, dealing with all of that, and then you throw into that situation the presence of firearms everywhere.
And substances.
Yeah, you throw in the drug abuse and everything, the drug, you know, I think, you know, today, it seems like I almost want to, if a young person comes in to see me, a juvenile or something, and he's telling me about how he got in a fist fight with somebody, I almost want to shake his hand and reward him for actually just a fist fight. That when we were kids, that's what we did. You know, right. You know, you'd have a fist fight out in the parking lot, and then 9 times out of 10, you'd shake hands, and that night you were out there, you know, doing something with each other. You know, it's just the way it was, and you almost want to reward somebody when you so rarely see that today. Instead of thinking, well, I've been disrespected.
It's a different perspective and a different bar. Right. Let's do this. Let's take a break and let's come back and talk about one of the most significant juvenile cases in the state of Alabama that's ever had, and I think you know what I'm talking about. We'll be right back. Stay with us. My name is Richard Jaffe of the law firm of Jaffe, Hanle, Whisonant, and Knight, Birmingham, Alabama. With me is one of my partners, Brett Knight, and I'm going to ask Mr. Knight a question about how you can protect your record if you're arrested and ultimately win your case. Brett, tell the audience what an expungement is.
So an expungement is basically you're filing a petition with the court where you have actually been arrested, and there are certain requirements that have to be in place, but if you were successful in the petition, you will have your arrest and the charge expunged, sealed from your record. This can be beneficial for both employment and school purposes. Now, not everybody is eligible for an expungement. Most misdemeanors, almost all misdemeanors are. Some felonies can't have an act of violence involved in them, but it can be very beneficial for anybody to actually go through this process, and it's something we do on a fairly routine basis with our firm. We make sure that in our cases where we're actually representing our clients throughout the criminal charges, we make sure they get them in the best situation possible so their cases can be expunged as soon as possible and they can go back on with their lives without having to worry about school or employment or this affecting their school or employment objectives. We have seen this help out tons of people because they don't have to worry about putting it on an actual an application, because basically what the expungement process does is it actually seals the record. On a background check, nobody will actually see the arrest or the charge, and especially when it comes to school transcripts or actually you applying for schools, nobody will see it.
Is this a new law?
Yes, it is. This actually was enacted in 2014. So there are still, nuances to the law that are being, I guess, fitted out or determined. But it has been very beneficial to the clients that we have and the ones that call us every day.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome back to Alabama Justice with our special guest, prominent attorney Don Colee. Okay, well, we were talking about juvenile justice, talking about the differences in the juvenile system. Let's talk about a case that both of us have been very involved with, and you know which one I'm talking about. Talk to us about that.
Well, we so often see situations with young people, we were talking about them, where they're suddenly facing this tremendously serious charges, tremendous time in jail, things of that nature. There's no hope. My life's over, and it's so easy for them to develop that type of attitude, and for the general public to think, well, this person's been involved, done these particular things right here. There is no hope for them to change as a person. So